just trying to decide how to tell you because I want to make it good. Mr. Flint starts getting jealous of Kirk and Raina, who's the girl. And so he sets it up to lead Kirk and Spock and McCoy into this laboratory where the Ritalin, the element they needed, was supposedly waiting for them. So they go in there, and you know what they find? They find these beds with earlier versions of Raina. And it turns out she's an android. And what you find out is this man, Flint, created her so that he could have a mate that was as immortal as he was. But he could never bring her emotions to life. She was an android. And so he thought that maybe by exposing her to humans and exposing her to concepts of love and passion that he knew she would experience with Captain Kirk, it would kind of jumpstart her emotions, right? And then he would just take over. Well, he and Kirk start fighting, right? I mean, fist fighting. And Raina walks in and gets in between them, and she says, I cannot be the cause of this. I will not be the cause of this. Stop! And they stop fighting, and she says, I choose where I want to go, what I want to do. I choose. And Flint's like, Raina! And she's like, don't order me. No one orders me. And Kirk's like, she's human. She's developed this self-awareness. And Kirk's like, come with me, please. Come with me, please. Stay with me in a moment. Stay with me in a moment. Kirk is like begging Raina. He never does this, you guys. He never does this. He begs her to come with him. He's like, I will show you the galaxy. Come with me. And Flint is standing there, the man who's been a father to her, the man who created her, standing there going, please stay. Stay. And she's going back and forth, and she's like, I was not human. Now, I'm love. And she collapses and dies. And Kirk and Flint runs over and he's like, you can't die. I mean, he knows she can't because he's an android. She's an android. He made her. And Kirk's leaning over Raina's body and he looks up at Spock and says, what happened? And Spock says, she loved you, Captain. And you too, Mr. Flint. There was not enough time for her to adjust to the horrible contradictions of her newfound emotions. The joys of love made her human, and the agonies of love destroyed her. Is that amazing? I love that show. That show is brilliant. Oh, and then the last scene. Can I tell you the last scene, or am I boring you? No! Last scene. Final scene. Kirk is in his quarters, and he's just sitting at his desk, and he is completely despondent, like you've never seen Captain Kirk. And Spock walks in and says, the epidemic is reduced, the antitoxin is working, and the Enterprise is en route to such and such, and Kirk's not even listening to him. He's just in a dead stare, and Kirk says, a very old and lonely man, and a young and lonely man. We put on a pretty poor show, didn't we? If only I could forget. And he drops his head down on his arms and falls asleep. And Dr. McCoy walks in, and Spock kind of gives him the, like, he's sleeping. And McCoy's like, finally, sleeping at last. He said, Mr. Flint, turns out, is dying when he left Earth with the complex elements with which he was formed. He sacrificed immortality. He'll live the remainder of a normal life, and then he'll die. And Spock says, on that day I shall mourn. And McCoy says, you know, Spock, I feel sorrier for you than I do for him, because you'll never know the things love can drive a man to. The desperate chances, the glorious failures, the glorious victories. All of these things you'll never know, simply because the word love isn't written into your book. And And he starts to leave, and he turns around and looks at Kirk and says, "I do wish he could forget her." And he leaves, and the music swells. And Spock walks over and puts his hand on Kirk's head and says, "Forget." Awesome. Oh my gosh, I love Star Trek. Yes, yes, Blair.
In the sky, you and I are floating in space. I, the moon.